This film is fantastic. Obviously, it's made the top 10. It'd be weird if I didn't think that. Hello, and welcome to HAZMAT, the only show that's going to do an end-of-the-year video ranking its top 5 favourite ducks.
Daffy.
Yep.
Donald.
Yep.
Huey, Louie, Dewey.
Thank you. I'm Matt.
And I'm Harry.
And this is our top 10 films of 2024. So, we've each compiled our own top 10 lists of all the films we've watched in 2024. These are the absolute best, cream of the crop, our absolute faves. So
we can't have any arguing.
So there's no argument.
This is definitive,
even
though they're two separate ones.
Yeah, they're both
objectively correct. You if your top 10 list doesn't look like either of these, you've made a mistake somewhere.
So we're gonna go back and forth, and we're gonna count down from 10 to 1, because 1 to 10 would be weird, so it takes all the sort of excitement out.
Start with the best.
Start with the best
and
and
just
slowly
devolve from there.
But before we get into our top 10 lists, we're going to quickly go through a few honourable mentions each, some things that didn't quite make the list, but we still think are worth a mention that we enjoyed very much, because flippin' heck, we watched so much this year.
So many.
And we just wanted to give some extra shout-outs.
So my 3 honourable mentions for the year, kicking off, we'll go with Long Legs. Not quite up there. There is some horror in my top list. This was great. It's a great movie. Great Nicolas Cage performance, we said when we talked about it. Just not quite up to the same kind of standard as the other ones I enjoyed a bit more. I've also gone with The Bike Riders. Another great just sort of sit down and watch people act kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like a couple of hours of just raw kind of performances from everyone, and still like a good solid story, but you're not really watching for the story. You're just kind of enjoying actors doing their thing. And then last but not least, American Fiction.
Nice.
Which held out its place on my top 10 for quite some time, and just narrowly missed out at the end, just like by a hair.
Pitted to the post, is that the phrase?
Pipped to the post.
Pipped out. Popped
to the shops.
The weasel.
Pipped to the post. But yeah, great comedy movie, another great cast, great performances, just narrowly missed out.
My honourable mentions that didn't quite make the list, to start with, we've got The Holdovers, which seems ages ago now.
Oh, it's fucking eons ago.
But we should stress we're going off UK release date with these lists.
Yeah.
Because we got this a little bit later than America. For some reason, we got this halfway through January.
A Christmas movie in January? What were they thinking?
That being said, we're back round to the time of year that's perfect for it again, and I just really loved it. It gave that kind of Dead Poet Society, like Good Will Hunting sort of vibes, which are some of my favourite films ever, so I felt like it sort of brought that vibe back, which was very cool to see. I've also picked The Bike Riders as one of mine. It didn't quite make the list. Again, like American Fiction, it was there for a while, heavily considered for my top 10 for a long time, and has also been pippity pop to the post. But yeah, I totally agree. Amazing performances from everyone. The characters, the story was just so captivating. I just loved being in that world for a couple of hours. So yeah, amazing film. And last but not least, The Teacher's Lounge, which is a German film just about a relationship between a teacher and a student. Not a weird one, like a nice,
it's a weird one.
Like
it's a weird one,
as in like a professional relationship. No, it was a really sweet film, all set in one school. Doesn't really leave the school. Just felt so small and personal, and the stakes felt so big despite it being very sort of character driven. But again, didn't quite make the list, but amazing film. Wanted to shout it out. All right then, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Top 10 of the year.
It's getting real now.
No, it's real.
It's just set in.
God. I've just realised. Can I change it?
The date's going to change.
Oh no.
I'm going to be writing 2024 for the first month or so.
Oh God, I can't do that. I just can't do that. And actually, yeah, that doesn't happen as much because I don't think I'm writing the year as much as I was like in school. I don't think I'm handwriting the year.
I'm not writing the year as much. I don't have any reason to anymore.
Yeah,
really.
It's a good bit of observational comedy for like secondary school though.
Yeah,
like if you were doing comedy in a school.
Yeah, we do.
You guys ever write
the year on?
You were at the first year, you know.
What's with that? Has anyone read this? Anyone seen this?
Anyone seen this? You write the year that it was for the first month. Yeah, crazy. Right?
Kicking off with my number 10. It's a movie I haven't mentioned yet. But I watched recently and I thought about it a lot, and it's just eked its way into the number 10 spot. My number 10 pick is Thelma.
Oh yeah.
This movie is like fantastic in so many ways. It's just a perfect kind of parody of those action revenge narratives, you know, like your John Wicks, like movies like Taken. It takes all of them and then just smalls the scale down to just be about this one elderly woman and an adventure she goes on to go and get some money back that she was scammed out of over the phone. And it's all just the tension in the narrative comes from the fact that she is an elderly person and everyone kind of thinks that, oh, you can't really do things on your own anymore. But she sets out on her own, like just out into the streets to walk. I think it's not like too long. It's like a couple of miles or something, because she manages to find the address of the place where the call comes from. And she's like sets out on her own to go and get her money back. But it's just like, so it plays with the formula so well. Like they have like the chase sequences, but instead of it being a high-speed chase, it's the fact that the family trying to find her is like stuck in traffic and arguing over like which direction to take. There's a really good like quote-unquote hacking scene where it's just her trying to use the computer to like get into the guy's banking account to set her money back, but it's just her like trying to avoid pop-ups and stuff. But every time she like clicks out of it, she's like, I'm in. Yeah, just genuinely funny, really heartfelt, and has like a great message of, you know, even if you're getting on in years, it's still possible to maintain that sort of that spirit and that love for life and that capability to just go out and do things you want to do. So yeah, just solid number 10 pick.
Sweet. My top 10. Here we go.
Here we go. Right, Take two.
I'm just going to reel them all off now.
I'm done. I'm so checked out. It's Christmas soon. I'm just
Christmas,
I'm there. Mentally, I'm there.
We're watching films instead of lessons now. That's another bit you could do in it.
We're watching films, doing colour.
Yeah, you guys are watching films on TV.
Everyone's got that one teacher, haven't they? Everyone's got that one teacher that still like makes you learn, still does their lessons regularly. Say, oh, you're not here to play games, you're here to learn.
Yeah, you're about to have 2 weeks off. We're going to learn today. No, come on,
brother.
My number 10 pick is The Outrun. This was just a beautiful film that is one of those you don't forget for like a long time. It's just such a thought-provoking, like touching story about this woman's addiction to alcohol, and just what she has to go through to try and kick it and how it's destroyed her life. Saoirse Ronan's performance in this as the lead was maybe one of her best ever, and she's got some good ones out there. And the direction on it was really interesting. A lot of it is set on the Orkney Islands in Scotland, so a lot of it has kind of little info sections about like species of bird info about the island. It's sort of interspersed with stuff like that, which I thought is cool. It makes it a little bit different to kind of your average like tackling addiction story. It had those sort of quirky bits in it, which just I think really elevated the story and just made it so much more impactful that you really got attached to the setting as well as the character, and because she was from there, it made you closer to her and kind of understanding more about what she was going through. So yeah, it had to make the top 10 because damn.
That's a good way for the teachers to trick kids into learning stuff. Put on a film like that where it just like has information about stuff interspersed.
Oh yeah.
Like we're watching a film today, but you're still learning about it.
It's an educational movie.
Anyone seen this? Anyone heard about this?
Actually, all my films get more and more educational as they go through. My number one's a documentary.
It's just a documentary, and it's
really
no images,
boring, like science.
No images, all voice and text.
My first film it's actually a book. I read the dictionary this year.
Number one, the Bible. Have you guys ever heard of it?
Number one every year, the Bible. Nothing's still in the year.
My number 9 pick is The Substance.
Ooh.
Which I know we were kind of like both in a little bit of disagreement about whether we enjoyed the ending. Like, I love this movie. And I think it just really hit like a proper spot of like, I hadn't seen a proper good like body horror in a while. It might just be because I've been missing them, or it's been more sort of smaller releases have done it. But I don't think there was anything in recent memory that kind of, in terms of body horror, that released and came out to like the same kind of acclaim and interest that this did. Even just outside of that, great visually, I think, throughout. I think the direction of it, the way they use sort of like close-up shots and the lighting, the framing of everything, just to hammer home the points they were kind of driving at. Direction on this, fantastic. Performance is fantastic. Last 20 minutes, extra fantastic. So yeah, if you haven't had the chance to watch The Substance yet, definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I think the further we've got away from it, the more I've like accepted the ending. I think it was at the time I was like, this is so
You're in
stupid.
shock. You're in shock.
Because I think the rest of it was so clinical and interesting and like visceral and stuff that I didn't expect it to like go so comical towards the end. But then you're thinking of it as a whole, it makes so much more sense. So but yeah, I agree. Great movie. My number 9 is Kneecap. This film is fantastic. Obviously, it's made the top 10. It'd be weird if I didn't think that. A film about Irish rap trio Kneecap. They made it themselves. They star in it as themselves, which I think is such a cool, interesting twist on a biopic. Is do it yourself, like quite early in your career. Just do it now and play yourself while you're
Get it over and done
young
with.
enough
Can't be bothered later.
Yeah. A great performance from all three of them as well, considering they're not like professional actors, considering it's the first acting they've all done, really. And a cool performance from Michael Fassbender as well, who I thought was great in this. And yeah, just as a fan of hip-hop, I found it really interesting. I think they're a great bunch of dudes. I've got into their music since then, and I thought the direction on this film was super unique. I felt like every frame was so interesting to look at. The graphics and just the framing and the shots being used here were just so captivating and just really made the whole thing feel so like fresh and exciting. The movie like pulses with such energy, and I think that really reflects like their music and who they are in their act, because they're quite a sort of rowdy act in general. So loved it.
Yeah, Nasty Dirty Rowdy Boys. That's
Nasty
what they should
Dirty
call
Rowdy
them. I
Boys.
think that's what they should call them.
That would have been a good title.
The Nasty Dirty Rowdy Boys.
That would have been the title if this was being made like 30 years down the line, when everyone knows what it's about.
Yeah.
Whereas now they have to call it
know,
Kneecap, because everyone would be like, "Oh, do you like that band, Nasty Dirty Rowdy Boys?" It's like, no. The band's called Kneecap.
The band's called Kneecap. That's the movie you're thinking of. It's like everyone just calls them the Dirt.
The Dirt.
No, the band. The band is Motley Crue.
The band's Motley Crue. Do you listen to the Dirt? Oh, I love the Dirt.
Love the Dirt.
Love the Dirt.
Oh, I gotta fucking scroll up now.
Oh, the things you have to do for this channel.
I know, the effort.
He works his arse off, he does, scrolling up and down.
Number 8 for me is Anora.
Woo!
A movie we saw just recently. I think it's the last month we did.
Yeah, November, I think that was.
And immediately after finishing it, I was just straight up. Went right up there.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, passing everyone by. It's going to sound, I feel like we're going to say it a lot during this, but it is just another one of those movies where you can sit down and appreciate the performances coming out of these guys. And we talked about how kind of surprising it was as well, that we thought this was just going to be sort of like a twist on the fairy tale kind of story, and it's going to be grounded and gritty. And we talked about how kind of surprising it is that it turns into such a comedic performance like partway through, and just I think the blending of those two things just works so well. It never comes across as over the top or like wasting time. I think it's perfectly paced, and it's brave enough to not kind of have like a Hollywood like everything's okay ending. They go more the route of like let someone just experience trauma and then express themselves as a result of that, and then cut to black, we're done, instead of sort of just resolving everything in a neat, happy kind of way, which I can always appreciate when you make a choice like that. Even if it's a bad movie, you make a choice like that where you're taking risks sometimes. It's always going to be appreciated that you're not just trying to go along with the grain. But yeah, just great movie. Take That's in the soundtrack. Like, what more could you want? What more could you want?
Yeah, maybe the best use of a Take That song all year in a film.
Yeah, like I can't think of any others. Can't think of any others, so it's got to be by default.
By default, but if there was another, I think this would still be the best.
I think it'd still be number 1.
Quick sip.
Just a little sip. To wet the lips.
They love the sip breaks. They love it. They're cheering them out. Or the watch parties, that are watching these videos.
Yeah.
Because people get their friends round like, oh, let's all watch the HAZMAT Top 10 2024 video. Oh, yeah.
Let's get drinks so we can do the sips with them.
Yeah,
just a little sip, boys. Just a little sip.
My number 8 is 658 kilometers, Yoko's Journey.
That's too many kilometers, to be honest, for one film.
Yeah, it's a long way to go.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go. And she does go all that way, physically and emotionally. So this is a Japanese road trip movie. Essentially, but it's a bit of it's not like a comedy road trip movie like you sort of think. It's a very emotionally driven one. There are funny parts, and I think it balances that very well with the drama, but it's about a woman who essentially ends up having to hitchhike her way to her dad's funeral, which is like across the country, and she's been a shut-in, and her mental health's not very good, and she doesn't really go out and have friends, and so it's about her coming out of her shell a bit more and having to deal with all these emotions. So yeah, her physical journey reflects the emotional journey she has to go on to sort of come out of her shell and accept the reality of her dad's death, and sort of what their relationship was in life, and it wasn't very good. Yeah, I think it was just a beautiful film. I think the pacing's incredible. It's structured like sort of a classic road trip movie where you get different characters, which is hitchhiking, and you have stops and things are happening along the way, and so it keeps you gripped. Yeah, I think it's just everything about it is pretty pitch perfect to me.
Is that on the list as well?
No, unfortunately, that didn't come out this year. Otherwise,
not even the third one.
I know. I looked. I checked.
I checked,
and it didn't. Yeah, years ago, in fact. But as soon as Pitch Perfect 4 comes out, Pitch Perfect 4 comes out,
Pitch Perfect
it'll
4
be
comes
there.
out. Here we are, number 7. Number 7. My number 7 pick is Terrifier 3. Controversial kind of pick, I guess, because I can see why people wouldn't like a film like this. I can see why people would be turned off by it in terms of the fact that I think there's a lot to pick out in terms of flaws.
It's set in a skyscraper, is it?
Yeah. People watching in skyscrapers are going to get that one. They're going to know
that. That's some stand-up to do if you're in a skyscraper.
If you're in a skyscraper, if you're in an Empire State Building, that's going to hit well.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think characterization is that strong. The story's quite bare bones at times. It's just the execution of it is so perfect. I always appreciate when a horror movie goes out of their way to do proper physical effects. The makeup and all the prosthetics that Art the Clown wears are incredible. They always look good. Even the earlier iterations of him, I think, have looked good, but they've just gotten better over the years, which is a cool thing to kind of watch with these movies in specific, is because it was such an early indie grindhouse movie, and to see it evolve into a mainstream cinema release, and you can kind of track the progress of the director and how he's improved in certain techniques. It's one of those movies that's interesting to watch both as a movie and also the behind the scenes of how it came to be,
as a production.
Yeah. And just it's a splatterfest. I love a good splatterfest movie. I remember talking about Abigail earlier this year, which is another movie I enjoyed, and how there hadn't been a proper splatterfest. And the thing that sets this above is the practical effects and the way it's all shot. It's just it's so visceral but also so fun at the same time. They strike a perfect balance of, this is gory and disgusting, but it's also very entertaining. And part of that is just Art the Clown's performance throughout this just brings the whole thing to another level. So yeah, Terrifier 3, right up there. Would have
been funny if it was number 3.
If it were number 3, yeah.
That would have been funny.
Would have been funny.
Just for the bit.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been true.
Completely
it would have been true to myself. But
just for the bit.
I'll just do it for the bit.
My number 7 is The Iron Claw. I obviously went into this not knowing jack shit about wrestling. And saw it with someone who knows jack a lot about wrestling. But despite that, I absolutely love this film. Again, incredible performances from all the cast here. Jeremy Allen White, my lad, my boy. I'll sort of be seated for whatever he's up to.
Yeah.
And I think Zac Efron in the lead, maybe his best performance, a career best here from Zac Efron. I think he's underrated as an actor.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of his career is in the shadow of High School Musical, which is obviously such a campy, teen thing. I mean, obviously people don't, think he's bad in that or anything. I just mean people still think of him as that guy.
It's Disney acting. It's different to actual acting.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people still see him under that umbrella. But I think in recent years he did the Ted Bundy film, which I thought was a great performance from him.
Yeah, 17 again.
17 again.
Yeah,
absolute
bad
classic.
Neighbours.
Bad Neighbours. That awkward moment. I could go on. But no, I thought he really anchored this film really well as the last surviving brother. And yeah, just a beautiful film, so emotional. And I went into it not knowing much about the story itself, because it's a true story, and just being shocked and appalled every time there was a new death or a new emotional moment or a new insane thing happening. So yeah, I think they did the family justice, and I think they did the world of wrestling justice, even though I don't know that much about it. But from what I can tell, it's a very respectful film, and I think it was great.
Number 6 for me. It's another new entry. It's one I haven't talked about yet. But my number 6 is Robot Dreams.
Oh yeah.
This was a Spanish animated film, but don't worry, don't have to do any reading, don't have to read any subtitles, because there's no dialogue at all. No one says anything. There's sounds made, and that's about as close as you get to anyone speaking.
And do they sound Spanish? From what you can tell?
It's not set in Spain. It's set in New York.
Okay.
but it's a Spanish-made film. That'd be really funny, though, if like they had a different, like an English voice cast and a Spanish voice cast just to make the sound.
Yeah, just the Folie artists, the Spanish dub for the sound effects.
This is a beautifully animated film, and it's quite a simple story of sort of friendship and loss and moving on and growth, and it's told in such a unique way. I think that whole no dialogue thing is crazy for something that's over like an hour and a half kind of movie. The closest thing I've seen to this kind of thing is there's an episode of BoJack Horseman where they do like a similar thing. It's a whole episode without any dialogue because it's underwater. And similarly with this, it's the story is told through the way characters move and animate and interact with each other. It's told through the music. They use September as like a recurring song throughout, and it kind of becomes like their song. But it's just this interesting story of like, it's one of those worlds similar to BoJack again. It's like the anthropomorphic animals, and it's this dog kind of living on his own, and then he orders a robot to be like his companion. Then they spend all this time together and form like a proper bond. And then one day at the beach, the robot loses power. He runs low on battery, and then it follows his story of being stuck on this beach for months on end because it's closed for like the winter, and it'll open again in the summer, and he's kind of like just there on his own. And it shows the different stories of how he's kind of passing the time and learning new things on his own, whereas dogs kind of moved on and made other new friends during that time. Then once they get together, you think the happy ending is like, oh, they'll finally reunite, but instead it's kind of like they see each other as they've both kind of changed as people and both live their own separate lives. But it's just a heartfelt story. You could tell there was a lot of passion put into it, and I think there has to be with that kind of story. Like, it feels like it came from like a personal experience. But yeah, number 6, solid pick. We're nearing the halfway point, but
We are. Ooh.
oof.
Can I change
It's getting
it?
clutch now. It's
Can I
getting
change
clutch.
it?
It's getting clutch.
I've got to change it. Number 6 for me is Totem. This is such a small, beautiful film from Mexico. It's all set in one day, and they're preparing for a birthday party for our main character's terminally ill dad. And it's just a really sort of touching look at how a kid deals with mortality for the first time, and kind of your first experience of learning things can die and things can end, and just the importance of like family and the importance of love and how we deal with grief, and how grief can come before death even, when someone's ill and you know they're going. And I think it's just so beautifully done and beautifully shot. It's almost sort of handheld for a lot of the time. You sort of feel like you're in the party with them, and it's this huge family and friends, and all these people are sort of gathering at the house throughout the day. Yeah, absolutely beautifully directed. So very naturalistic performances from a lot of the cast here, and just got everything about it. Oh, hopefully the next one's a comedy. Oh god,
Baby. You're in luck, baby. Right, we're into the top 5 now.
Here we go, folks.
This is the real meat of the matter.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here we go. My number 5. It's a Christmas movie that came out in January.
Let's go.
The Holdovers. Yeah, I don't need to say too much because I think you covered it pretty well in your little honourable mentions bit. Sometimes it's just a feeling you get.
Yeah.
And I think this movie does so perfectly capture the feeling of Christmas. Just that warm fuzzy feeling you get in your tummy around Christmas time. It captures that in film form. Just Paul Giamatti in this, incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But we mentioned how I think this movie has the best comedic cut of the whole year, of the entire year.
Absolutely.
And I still think about how good it is.
Yeah.
Crazy that like a Christmas movie is hitting like the top 5 on my list.
It feels like a new classic. It feels like we haven't had a Christmas classic for a long time. It feels like this is going to be in that sort of pantheon of like the movies you put on at Christmas, like as it ages, But
yeah, it feels toned down enough, but still maintains the spirit. Like, it doesn't have all of the symbol. It doesn't have Santa as a character. It doesn't have all the elves and all the magic and stuff. But it just captures a perfectly grounded experience around about the holiday times. And
yeah, it feels like sort of finding connection with kind of whoever you can around that time of year, and like how that time of year can feel lonely for a lot of people, but just finding sort of your community and found family as well.
yeah, a great relationship between a teacher and a student. Not like that.
Not like that.
Not like that.
No, not like that. No.
Yeah, the Holdovers, I think, absolute Christmas bet. That's got to be a regular now, I think. Like, in terms of Christmas watches.
That's a yearly
I
watch.
think that's got to be a regular now.
Absolutely. For every January.
For every this you can't watch this at Christmas. You have to watch
Not for
it in
us.
January.
My number 5. We've reached the top 5 of mine as well. My number 5 is La Chimera, which is an Italian film starring Josh O'Connor, who was also in Challenges this year. Such a unique experience of a film. The direction feels very almost patchwork. There's like a few different sort of stylistic choices going on here for certain things, and I think it just works to create such an interesting whole. Whole as in WHOLE. However, they're also digging holes. Because this is about grave robbers. Nope, not Shia LaBeouf. Yes, it's about a bunch of grave robbers who, go down and find artifacts and sell them off, and that's how they make their living. And Josh O'Connor plays this sort of savant of the industry who's just incredibly talented at finding stuff. But it's all about kind of the ethics of that. But it's also about him he's in the process of bereavement, and it's about him finding sort of purpose again and trying to find his way back to the love of his life. And yeah, it's a lot happens in this film. It's a great little cast of characters. The supporting cast are all brilliant here. And it's just one of those, I'm never going to forget it. Such a unique film. It's one of those you're just like, we can do that. Like, it's like it's hard to explain. But I think it's just in the sort of stylistic choices and the sort of the unconventional plot, I guess. It just feels really refreshing to me and really unique. So
yeah, when you've got something like that where you're kind of seeing something for the first time and you go and go, like, why hasn't anyone else tried doing that before?
Yeah. It's so like, the director's doing something new, and it's cool. Great to see. So that's my number 5.
Number 5.
Number 9.
Number 5.
They should have made Revolution 4. For every number. Number 41. Number 41.
Number 69.
Nice. That's my favourite, John. I fucking knew it would be Ringo.
You're so predictable. Alright, just missing out on a podium finish. My number 4. The Iron Claw.
Woo!
There's a reason it's on both of our lists, I think. like we said, Zac Efron as the heart of this movie, incredible. Jeremy Allen White, incredible. Even like from a perspective of someone, like you said, me going in with prior knowledge of sort of the wrestling world, I'd say this kind of era I'm not super familiar with. Sort of back in the days of the territories and the golden age, I'm not massively familiar with, but I know enough, and I know sort of who all these people are that are being portrayed. I know like your Harley Races and your Ric Flairs, and it's still, even though I knew about the family going in, to see it kind of unfold like piece by piece, it's still completely like unbelievable. Even though you know it happened and you're seeing it happen, you still don't believe it happening.
I remember at the time they've cut one of the brothers out, didn't they?
Yeah.
They kind of compiled 2 of them into one character because I think the director was like, it would
that
be
would be too
much.
much. That's too much.
Which is like, it's the opposite of how it usually happens. Usually they're more dramatized in the film, but actually real life is like way worse.
Even like the realism of how it's portrayed, like the training they go through, and you get a little bit of sort of the actual matches of them in the ring. I think it's all like, I know they had some actual wrestlers come in and help them film a lot of these scenes. Yeah, just the way that the actual wrestling world is portrayed in here, down to sort of even the like the gritty underbelly of it. There's a lot to do with sort of the pressures that these people are put under, especially like next generations of wrestlers, because for whatever reason you're expected to do more. If your parent was a famous wrestler, you're then expected to be as good, if not surpass them, and there's more pressure put on you. And just like the toxic masculinity behind it all, it's less there, I think, in modern wrestling, but like definitely back in the day, it was a different time. The whole like, oh, men have got to be men thing, and the extent to that being pushed back in the day, obviously I think that's a big driving force of kind of what happens to a lot of these boys, and the movie doesn't shy away from that. It's a problem that wrestling's had for a long time, and I think it's a good thing that movies like this are kind of shine a light on sort of the less glamorized world of professional wrestling.
Absolutely agree. And that's why I've put Iron Claw again as my number 4.
It's back.
Put it on twice.
I'm doubling down.
I couldn't think of another one.
I'm sorry, I've only seen 9 films this year.
My number 4 is Samsara. Like La Chimera, this is another one where I was like, what the fuck? We can do that? Like, films can do that? It's a film of 2 halves, and it's about reincarnation. And in the middle, you shut your eyes, and there's a lot of flashing colours and things on the screen, and it makes you feel like you're going like through a tunnel and essentially being reincarnated as this woman in the film is being reincarnated into a new life. And so yeah, it explores all of that. I think it's such a beautifully quiet film. The two halves are it's not like plot heavy, it's just about two different parts of the world and how life is different in those two parts, and how if your soul does enter another body and another life, how it can just be something completely different. And just the fact that it sort of plays with the form like that, I think is so interesting. I've never seen a film do it like that. I think I said at the time, it's something else. It's not quite 4D, but it's not quite 3D. It's like a new dimension. It's like a side dimension somewhere where it's like it's such a simple technique, but it's very sort of sensory, and it really puts you in the film. Yeah, just incredible. I didn't stop thinking about it for days, and I'm desperate to see it again, but it's one of those that I don't think it would work outside of a cinema screen.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I ever will. But, if you get the chance to see this film in a cinema, absolutely do it, because it's an experience as well as a film. And yeah, just a beautiful piece of art.
Did it come with like a warning beforehand?
Yes, I think it probably did, yeah.
Because I guess that, like, you open your eyes during that scene, it probably just melts. Like, it just melts them.
If you open your eyes, your reincarnation, it's interrupted, and you come back as a worm or something.
If you open your eyes, you behold the visage of God.
You actually see God.
You see God, and you immediately just vaporize.
He was right there. You cannot open your eyes under no circumstances.
We're not. This isn't the joke. This isn't the bit. You cannot open your eyes.
Cannot open them. Do not even peek. Don't even peek.
All right, we're into it now. The bronze medal.
Here we go. The top three, baby.
Here we go. My number 3. It's The Wild Robot.
Woo! Bit of a robot theme.
Oh my god, yeah. Good year for animated robot movies. With apologies to Transformers 1. It was still good. It was still really good, just not quite good enough to make it onto the list. But what else can I say about this movie other than it made me fucking bawl like a baby? They captured everything so well, from the natural environments to the way these animals move. Like, it's a fun thing to play around with animation like that, when you have all these different animals and you can kind of play around with how they move. And then this main robot character who also mimics their movement, and trying to recreate that with something whose shape is completely different. They obviously I think they had a lot of fun, like, putting this movie together. Great voice cast, you've got Lupita Nyong'o, you've got Pedro Pascal, you've got Matt Berry, you've got Bill Nye all in there doing their bits. Sometimes it's just a feeling.
Yeah. And
this is a feeling of, I want to watch this, like, again. I feel like this could very easily become like a new comfort movie.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like it. It's also, I think that the closer we get to the top of these lists, it's less. We can't really put a lot of it into words at this point. Sometimes you just know it's
you
like
know
it.
You see it, you feel it, and like you know it's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, music in this is great. Fantastic soundtrack. Really heartfelt storytelling. Beautiful environments. Great character design. It's everything you want in an animated movie, really. And that's why it's number 3.
My bronze medal, my number 3, goes to a film I've already briefly mentioned in this video. Challengers. Second appearance of Josh O'Connor on my top 10 this year.
It's been a good year for Rat Boys.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. I just think everything about this film was so exciting and refreshing and bold. And I think it is going to go down as such a special film. And I think the 3 performances from the 3 leads here, Zendaya, Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor. I think these are going to go down as some of their career best performances, for all time. Yeah, just so exciting to see them all. The chemistry they all had. It's obviously a very sexy film. It's very hot and sweaty at times. And I think the chemistry they had really managed to carry that very well. And really deliver that and make that very believable. I thought the non-linear storytelling they did, where you get sort of more and more context into the characters and how important this sort of seemingly tiny regional match is that they're playing. I loved how that naturally unfolds throughout the film. And can't finish without mentioning the impeccable soundtrack from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Just incredible, pounding sort of club, industrial almost soundtrack. Yeah, I think everything just came together, and it's one of those sort of perfect films, really.
It's one of the hardest things to pull off, I think, is the non-linear storytelling, because you have to kind of work out what's the moment that we reveal this bit of information, rather than it being like a natural, this is when it happens. It's when do we hold it back and when do we reveal it?
Absolutely, and I think it manages to nail that so well and just have this match unfold as their lives unfold in front of us as well. Yeah, I think it nailed it.
Right, my silver medal, which feels unfair because this is definitely a gold standard movie, and it held gold for so long, and it was like just a gut feeling choice at the end that just robbed it of that number one spot. And it seems forever ago since we watched it, because I think it was January maybe that we saw it. My number 2 pick is Godzilla -1. I love Godzilla movies. Specifically, I love Godzilla movies when they're done well. I think obviously the Western one that they've done recently, I really like the 2014 Godzilla because it kind of focused more on the people involved than how it was affecting them. And then obviously King of the Monsters and then Godzilla vs. Kong just turned into big like monsters fighting. And while you think that's kind of what you want, you sort of lose interest after seeing it that many times. It's no longer the spectacle it once was, which is why Godzilla -1 is so good, because it brings it back to that simple formula of it's a bizarrely framed, it's a bizarre way of it happening, but it's still a disaster nonetheless. But how does this disaster that's occurring affect this one family, and you're following this one family throughout, and to bring it down to that level, to be about the human element, and then Godzilla's like there. Godzilla is now the antagonist, which is kind of back to its original roots. Godzilla kind of started off in the 50s as being sort of a metaphor based on the fallout of World War II and nuclear weaponry, and it's cool to see like a new take on it, but it's very much reminiscent of that first movie. Again, like impeccable performances, impeccable cinematography, great soundtrack, great action when it needs it, and a great emotional core. With a believable family dynamic between this sort of makeshift group that was sort of thrown together in the wake of a disaster. They weren't sort of initially a family, but they just kind of came together to survive what was happening together. And it all works. It all works perfectly together. So I'd go so far as to say I think this is the best Godzilla movie. At least of the ones I've seen, this is the best one.
I would agree. And it's the only Godzilla
It's
movie
the
I've
only
seen.
one.
I totally agree, though. I think I loved it because of the human element. You know, as evidenced by my list, I love a small emotional sort of core to the story, and yeah, I do think it nailed it. Which is why my number 2 is also... No, I'm joking.
It's Godzilla 2014.
Again, I couldn't think of anything else. I just love this movie so much. My number 2, my silver medal, is funnily enough also one that was number 1 for a long time, and I really thought it was going to make it to the end as number 1, but it was pippity popped to the post.
That's that final hurdle.
Yeah.
Damn, it's just too big. It's too
big.
big. They made it too high.
You've got to be a special film to get there. Kinds of Kindness. It's been well documented over the couple of years we've been doing this. That Lanthimos is my favourite filmmaker generally. I love all of his films pretty much. And this one went kind of off the back of Poor Things, which was a bit sort of out of what he usually does. That was a bit bigger and a bit more fantastical. I ended up liking Kinds of Kindness that bit more because it just brought it back down to the weirdness, the bleakness that's at ground level. Yeah, really blunt absurdism that I think Lanthimos is so good at. And I think he brings such interesting, unique performances out of people that you wouldn't expect. Emma Stone seems to be in everything he's doing right now, which is, hey, I'm not complaining. She's absolutely brilliant in this. Jesse Plemons, Hong Chow, like the whole ensemble cast here, Margaret Qualley. There's a bunch of amazing cast members in this. And across all the 3 sort of vignettes, the 3 sort of short films within the film, they all play quite different characters within each one, and I think there's just something special about Lanthimos that sometimes I can't quite put my finger on, but there's a feeling that I get from his films that I don't get from anywhere else. And so yeah, I wanted to, obviously I knew he was going to be represented on the list, but I felt like I like this more than Poor Things, you know, because Poor Things was as great as it was, less what I want from him. And Kinds of Kindness really brought that back to what I love about kind of his earlier work. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see what he's up to next.
Not film wise. I just want to know what he's doing right now.
Yeah. So Lanthimos, if you could let us know down below in the comments.
He's the kind of like enigmatic person that, like, if you ask what are they doing right now, you would not be able to in a million years guess the actual answer.
He's like skinning a fish or something.
Yeah, he's doing something really weird. It's not something normal like sitting and watching TV. It's he's doing something really out there.
But yeah. Again, yeah, brought back that sort of strangeness, the uncanniness. Uncanny Valley is almost a good term for his sort of stuff. But yeah, absolutely love this one. 5 stars from me. Here we go.
Here we go. It's the moment.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Unless you just skip to this point in the video.
Yeah.
Which, how dare you, by the way?
What the fuck? But we're here now. We're here now.
We're here now.
We're here now. The number one, the gold standard, the gold medal. The gold, always believe in your soul. My number one pick, for obvious reasons, is Spy Family Code White. Those obvious reasons being, it's an animated film with a, parent-child dynamic where they go on a vacation or like almost like a road trip, I guess you could say. And there's another movie that I've been talking about all year that, follows that same kind of formula.
Oh, yeah.
Which is surprising.
Oh, yeah.
It's surprising why that didn't make my top. Hey, listen, if this were 1995, that would be number one. Like, no shot, that would be number one.
Should we just do our top 10 films of like the last 20 years?
Just go through every year. Every year.
And welcome
since,
to our top 10 films of
1940.
1952. Number 2 is White Christmas. Absolutely love this movie. Can't believe we got it in January.
Love
though. It
it.
doesn't make any sense.
Bing Crosby's great.
Great performance. Career best from Bing Crosby.
I think this was entirely feeling based. I thought about it really hard, and I came to the conclusion no other film this year has really captured like the excitement of going to the cinema for me. I don't think I felt this way going in to watch a movie and watching a movie since I was a little babby kid watching the SpongeBob movie for the first time. There's just a special feeling, especially I think it's when it's a movie like this, when it's a TV show, so you're already familiar with it, and now it's a film adaptation or like a film based on it. So there's that kind of expectation of, oh, how is it going to differ to the show? Like, is it going to be like bigger and more spectacular? And it absolutely is. I think I said when I was talking about it in the monthly thing, this is essentially all the best qualities from the series just dialed up to 11. Hey, maybe like I'm biased and like the 4DX experience added to it, but like it really did.
I haven't felt this way since I went on a roller coaster when I was 12.
Fun is the perfect word to capture it. I don't think I've had as much fun watching a movie in a long time as I have with this. And I'll definitely go back and watch it again because it's easy to digest. It's easy to sit down and watch. And what's great is that it's like an isolated movie as well. It's an isolated kind of standalone experience. So even if you haven't seen the series, you can still watch it. And I recommend everyone do because it's number one for a reason. It's fantastic. It's one of the things where I have zero gripes. I couldn't pick anything out of this where I said this could be better or like this isn't done particularly well. I have no notes. Put it out. I know it's already been out. Put it out again.
Put it out again. Actually, re-release it again.
Re-release it again. I guess that's my one gripe is that it's an anime film, so we get it for like 3 fucking days.
Yeah. You're lucky to catch it.
Yeah.
And here we go. My number one is Black Dog.
Sirius Black, he's back.
The Sirius
We
Black
love it.
Harry Potter spin-off. This is the little film the film that beat my favourite director to the number one spot on my list. A Chinese film about a relationship between a man and his dog. Not like that. Not like that. Yeah, just this unlikely friendship that forms between a stray dog and our main character, and it's a story about redemption and love and our connection with animals and our connection with our families and just how all these things can be so intertwined in our lives. And it's set against the backdrop of the Beijing Olympics of 2008, and the city is just gone to the dogs, no pun intended, and there's a big stray dog problem, and it sort of explores the political social climate of that time in China as well. But it mainly focuses on this sort of unlikely pairing between this very sort of stoic character and this dog. And yeah, it's one of those, it's just a feeling. Like, to this day, it's the only film I've seen in a cinema twice. It's the only one I've gone back to see again. It didn't feel right at any place over the number one, because I just immediately coming out of it, I was like, that's one of my favourite films of all time, I think. That's probably like top 10 films ever, actually, for me. And it's like insane that it's that new and it's already kind of considered to be up there for me.
Its way in,
yeah, it's funny that I have almost less to say about my number one than a lot of the rest of the list, but again, it's because it is just that gut feeling of like, this film is incredible, everything about it, there's no gripes here.
When you know
It's it's surprisingly funny and it's surprisingly sweet and it's very hopeful as well as being sort of emotionally devastating at times. And yeah, beautiful film, beautiful, profoundly made film.
Pure unadulterated cinema.
Absolutely, man. These are the films that just make you remember how fucking good cinema is.
When it's good,
When
it's
it's
great.
good, it can be so good.
Yeah.
And I think this year, in general, has been so good.
It's been
Generally.
It has been stellar.
I think directors are starting to do interesting stuff again, you know?
Yeah.
I think we're kind of coming out of the franchise era, which I think has dominated cinema for a long time. You know, a lot of people always complain like, oh, everything's sequels, reboots, remakes and all that. If you look a little bit further, like maybe look at a few, like maybe scroll down the cinema app a little bit, you'll find some interesting films, you know? Scroll past all the big films,
Yeah,
Ghostbusters,
ignore Ghostbusters,
Deadpool,
Godzilla,
Wolverine,
Kong.
and all that stuff. Just keep scrolling. You'll find a little film that's only showing at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and it'll be the best film you've ever seen in your life. And that's how I found Black Dog.
Yeah. I saw a dog the other day.
Was it the best dog you've ever seen in your life?
It's pretty good, I guess.
Every dog I see is the best dog I've ever seen in my life. Well, there we have it, folks. Our top 10 of the year.
Top 10 of the year. Do we want to do the stinky bit?
So
tag the stinky bit on at the end.
there was also some films we didn't like as much. Yeah, I guess just our pick for worst of the year.
Yeah,
real quick.
our dishonorable mention.
Dishonourable mention. I like that.
Which
I like
is
that.
which is the worst thing we saw. Bottom of the barrel. What number is it for you?
It's 68 for me, so that's
68.
as many as I've seen.
This is my number 100 pick.
The big one, baby.
The big triple fig.
Hit us with it.
It's very funny that 4 out of 5 of my bottom 5 of this year are horror movies.
Really goes to show you can the range of that genre.
Yeah, like
That half your top list is also horror.
I've said it time and again. Like horror is the one genre that has the most like shit in it that you have to wade through to get to the good stuff. My number 100, my bottom, the least good, the least best movie of the year is Afraid. Shitty movie in every sense, nonsensical, doesn't explain things very well to the point that even the movie doesn't really know what its main villain is. It tries to do things and then doesn't go in enough depth with it to actually commit to one way or the other. The most egregious crime it commits is making a movie all about AI and not taking the stance that this is bad. It takes a stance that this particular AI is bad, but not that AI in general is bad. So for the crime of cowardice, it's the worst pick.
You cowards! Yeah, I respect that. I respect that pick. My worst of the year, and I don't think this is objectively the worst film I watched this year, but it made me the most angry and the most confused. And it's Hitman. Listen, since I've seen this, I've got aboard the Glenn Powell train. Twister's brought me back. I think he's great. But I think he can't pass off being like a nerdy loser, which he tries to do in this film. This film was so lauded and so praised, and it's so fucking dull. Even shit like Madam Web was entertaining. This is just like wallpaper. Like the jokes don't land. It's not funny. There's no tension, other than maybe a bit of sexual tension between the two leads. The characters, half of them like are just dull and boring, and there's supposed to be like the worst guy in the world, and you don't show that he is at all.
It was literally a sentence or two at the end.
Yeah, pacing is just so slow and dull for like such a sort of exciting premise. So yeah, I think there's probably like worse, like made less entertaining I think there's worse made films objectively, that being like things like Madam Web, but maybe like Ghostbusters.
They're more entertaining to watch.
Yeah, but I at least enjoyed them on some
Yeah.
level. Hitman I just never want to think about ever again in my life.
I mean, it's not surprising that a fucking Netflix movie is...
Yeah. I think it's made it worse that everyone loved it so much. I think if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have thought much of this.
No.
It would just be like another one I'd seen. But I think the fact that I'm so confused as to what everyone sees in this film. But hey, Glenn Powell, don't be mad. I liked you in Twisters.
you've got other. You're gonna have other stuff.
You're doing fine.
This isn't gonna damage your career. Don't be silly.
Be fine.
Glenn,
Most people
don't be
actually liked
silly.
it. To be fair, most people liked it.
No, Glenn, don't come in here. No,
Glenn?
Glenn, don't.
Glenn!
Glenn, put the knife down.
Shit,
Glenn, put the knife down.
And I guess we'll just quickly finish off with kind of what we're looking forward to, anticipating for 2025. There's been a few films announced already. Personally, I'm looking forward to Mickey 17, the new Robert Pattinson film. I'm a big Robert Pattinson fan. And it's Bong Joon-ho as well, who's always great. It looks quite quirky and quite different. I'm excited to see what's going on with that one.
Probably only a couple of things, really. I briefly mentioned Sonic 3. I know it's technically one we'll be talking about in our next year, even though it's only going to be like a couple of weeks or so until we get it, because I've loved the Sonic movie so far, and this one looks another really good one. Not one that I'm like super excited for, but one I'm interested in how they pull off is How to Train Your Dragon, the live action one.
Right, okay, yeah. Anticipated doesn't necessarily mean good. Sometimes it's just like, oh, how are they going to even
I want to see how they go in, how they tackle it, because from the trailers, a lot of it seems like shot for shot kind of remade. I'm starting to wonder like what the actual point of it is, but we'll see when it comes out how I feel. And then series wise, just because literally just the other day I found out they're doing more episodes of Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh yes, I did see that. Yeah,
so
that'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting to go back and watch all those Malcolm in the Middle episodes, or like the fucking 500 seasons or whatever they did of that. No, like I love Malcolm in the Middle watching back in the day, and I do want to go back because I feel like it's one that holds up pretty well. An underrated gem, I think. I don't think it never hit the same kind of heights that something like Friends or The Big Bang Theory did.
I believe there's a new Lanthimos film coming out next year, so I'm obviously looking forward to that. I think it's Emma Stone again. I honestly hope they just make films together for the rest of the time. Two films I really enjoy is the Now You See Me series about the magicians, and I think they're doing a third one.
Ooh.
And I think that's coming out next year, so excited to see that as well. So yeah, lots of good stuff to come. So join us then in 2025. HAZMAT will return.
Oh yeah, we've got to do the Marvel post-credits sting.
yeah.
Hey everyone, the Thunderbolts is still coming out.
It's still Captain America
Brave New World.
They've reshot that about 5 times.
Yeah, they keep doing reshoots, but trust us, it's coming out.
It's coming out for sure. Yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see how Marvel's going to fare next year, because they've kind of taken a step back this year.
My response is, well, like even if their movies, like, people don't like them, they still make money.
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible for them not to at this point.
Yeah.
The next year, it's something.
Here's to next year.
Next year, it's going to be one of the years of all time.
It really will be. Thank you for watching HAZMAT's Top 10 Films of 2024.
If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see us do more stuff like this in the future, probably 1 year in the future to be precise.
Yep.
You can support the channel by leaving a like or a comment. You can hit the subscribe button as well as a notification bell. That way you'll be alerted to all our more recent uploads. And as always, all of our socials will be listed down in the description.
And join us next time, where I ride a motorcycle across a tennis court.
And I'm just gonna go and claw some people.
Oh.
Into submission.
Oh.
I think people have had it too good for too long. Got to bring the Iron Claw back. It's the only way to get what you want. Seems forceful, but that's what you got to do these days. Don't blame me, blame society.
Joker Folie, I do. Best film of the year. We loved it.